Have you ever wondered what is the difference between some of the best coaches in the world and just the average ones? In this video, we're diving into 12 different types of coaches that you should be avoiding. But don't worry, we're not just going to be criticizing, we're also going to be giving some ideas in how to be the best coach you can be to inspire, motivate, and truly make the difference in your athletes' lives. What's up, guys? Welcome back. If you're new to the channel, I'm Lewis Hatchett, mindset coach for athletes, former professional cricketer here in the UK, also master's student in performance psychology at Bangor University, also host of the Mind Strong podcast, also the creator of the Mind Strong Sport app. If you find value in this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, become a subscriber. 88% of people currently do not subscribe. Become one of those that is subscribed, and then you can hit the bell and get a notification of a new video that comes out and get rid of all that FOMO that you love having. All right, let's get into the video. So we have 12 coaches that we are going to go over. These are by no means academic names for these coaches. These are names that we have created. There may be even more coaches, so throw in the comments if you think of more. Number one, the overly critical coach. This is the coach that just criticizes you all the time, can't find anything good in what you're doing, and just looks for the negatives. Coaches like this, you want to listen out for the first thing that comes out of their mouth, right? If it is something, yeah, but you didn't do this, they're criticizing you. Problem with this is that it's just going to kill your confidence. You're not going to be motivated. You're going to feel like you're going to be constantly making mistakes. You're going to be afraid of making those mistakes. And so your result is you're just not motivated. Having someone that's overly critical in what you're doing is just not what you want. So look out for this coach. All right, number two, we have the old school hardliner. This is someone who pretty much ignores all of the new methods. They don't think of the new science as being relevant. They're just stuck in their old ways, think that the old school approach is the way forward. If you are someone who is leaning towards all the old school methods, especially when it comes to things like recovery and new techniques that help create longevity in athletes' careers, you're likely going to be pushing your athletes down injuries, burnout, and especially for young athletes. It's a tough road to take with that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be tough on young people. I think having discipline, that is not what I'm saying. Having discipline is good, but it's not just old school thrashing them into the ground. Old school methods mixed with some new school methods. Lovely blend. All right, number three, we have the self-centered coach. This is the coach where it is pretty much focusing on them and the reputation of their players to make themselves look good. So they look at essentially making decisions based on what serves them and not the player. This limits the growth for an athlete. So look out for those coaches that are trying to make decisions that ultimately will make them look good. It's all about the athlete. That's the focus. Number four, we have the play favorites coach. This coach is the one that has their kind of inner circle, the one that is favorites within the group. I've experienced this before. You know, coaches, it creates a bit of a toxic environment, even if it's not outwardly toxic and you can't see it, kills team spirit. You sometimes can't gel as a team because you know the coach is going to favor others. So the talented players could get overlooked. There's players with potential that could get overlooked if they're not the favorite in the eyes of the coach. If you're a coach, don't have favorites, be neutral with everyone else. Doesn't mean that there aren't better players and more developed, but you can't have favorites. All right, number five, we have the win at all costs coach. Very much aligned with the old school mentality, but this is someone who is only focused on winning. When coaching is a range of different things, it should be really focused on developing, but if a coach is only focusing on development, then they're just ignoring the player's well-being and the fair play that's going on. They're just not interested in doing it right. They're just probably focused on just getting the job done and winning. That again causes tons of burnout, stress. Your athletes are going to potentially lead to some downward spirals down the line, and it could even be unethical practices that the coach ends up diving into. So you can win, you can look to win, and you can look to try and do your best, but it doesn't have to be at all costs. Winning is great. We're trying to win, but it doesn't have to be the only goal. All right, number six, and I've seen this quite a bit, the poor communicator. There is nothing worse than a coach that is poor at communicating. It is a vital skill as a coach. If you lack communication skills, this leaves your athletes in no man's land. They're going to be disconnected, confused, unsure of what they should be doing. They might actually start to resent you because they will start playing stories in their minds and start creating the titles of their own stories and the whole subject matter of that story without you even realizing it. And if you don't give them clear feedback, if you don't tell them what to be doing or give them guidance, they're going to feel unsupported, they're going to feel lost. I've been in this situation. It's not a great place. So I would really, really push for coaches to steer away from being this. And if you're an athlete, speak up. Try to help your coach being a poor communicator. You don't want a poor communicator as a coach because it's vital. All right, number 7, we have got the inconsistent coach. This is someone where it's chaos because they're not turning up for each session with a plan or structure, or maybe even a long-term plan of periodizing and developing you and your skills over a period of time. They're just chaotic, they're confusing, everything is slightly all over the place, and that doesn't help you develop as an athlete. You might lose focus as an athlete here because you just don't really know what's going on, and there's no progress due to that unpredictability of them. So if you see a coach that's inconsistent, that's not what we want. We want consistent practices so that we know we're going somewhere and getting progress. Number 8, this is an interesting one, or ironic, it's called the disinterested coach. This is a coach that just shows very little passion or effort. This could be down to either trying to play it a bit too cool. It could be maybe down to lack of communication or maybe some insecurity around what they're doing. They just don't have the energy to bring about the passion within the coaches. It's going to impact yourself as an athlete or the team morale. So the result is that just overall motivation goes down. The coach is the hub and driver of the passion within the group, not hugely the other way around. Yes, players and you as an individual athlete as well can drive that. But a coach is a big driver for how much passion and effort can be put in. So if you have a disinterested coach, don't be surprised if the athlete is disinterested. Number 9, again, pretty much an old school method, I think, but this one's called the yeller. Basically, yelling is their go-to. Whenever they see something they don't like, they just yell. This would really result in something that a coach has low emotional regulation. They don't understand themselves. They intimidate athletes. It increases the anxiety, reduces confidence. It's going to leave athletes playing through fear, especially younger and maybe less confident players. They're not going to be wanting to perform. So when coaches are just yelling at athletes, that's a tough place to be because it's a very fearful environment. Yes, there may be time where people raise their voices, but if it's consistent, if their go-to is yelling and just shouting, it's not a great place to be. All right, we're getting on to number 10. Oh, the micromanager. This one is where they are just looking at every minute detail and trying to control it. There's no autonomy here for athletes. They can't make decisions on their own. They are ripped of all of that autonomy. They have no independence, maybe even creativity in what they're doing because the coach is ultimately ripping them away from all of that. They're doing it themselves through micromanaging. Don't be surprised if an athlete, when you've got a coach like this, can't make decisions. They're not very adaptable in situations. That's due to this lack of autonomy. So when you micromanage, you rip away decision making, you rip away that autonomy and that ability to make good decisions. So there we go. All right, number 11, the know-it-all coach. I've seen a few of these and maybe I've even fallen into this bracket before. But the know-it-all coach is essentially the one that is stuck to their own ways. They are the one that knows best. They're not very open and curious about learning and developing. That can, again, stifle not only their own growth, but the players' growth and the athletes that they're in charge of growth. Because if that is not a person that is developing and growing and learning new things, how can they expect their athlete to do that? Maybe because they think they know it all. But if you are a coach and you have a certain method and you think you know best, you're only creating an athlete that is stuck into a box that knows that box and that method, that path. And that may not be the way in which they, as a completely different human being, get to the outcome. Just thinking that this one road and one way can be done and is the way in which they get success is short-sighted. Hopefully, a coach has a little bit more of a wider view and can accept that there are things they can learn and be curious about learning that. All right, well, we got the last one. The emotionally unstable coach. I think this is very linked to the yeller, but this is where they swing their emotions in moments. They can be your best friend and then suddenly they can be your worst enemy. This creates a very tense environment. I've seen this before, very unpredictable. You as an athlete are focused on essentially trying to avoid the coach's mood. So you mimic or you mold yourself to the environment you think the coach would best like, and then that rips you of your authenticity of how you want to do things, and eventually you're going away from improving. So if you've got a coach that is emotionally unstable, that's not a great place to be because you're going to create a lot of tenseness in your athletes, a lot of anxiety. Maybe even the athletes start to mimic that behavior as well, and they become emotionally unstable because essentially the coach is saying, I can do it, you can do it too. All right, so we've gone through 12 coaches to avoid. Now, if you are a coach or you have a coach and you want to know how can we get better, how can we develop, what should we be aiming for, is a few things. First up, focus on the development and the well-being of your athletes. That is the number one priority, is the development of the athletes. You want to be an encourager. You don't want to be their harshest critic. Athletes have got that covered. I promise you, that critic inside is whirring away. They don't need another one in their lives. They've already got 1,000 voices going on, and their own harsh critic is inside them, so don't be it for them. Make sure you communicate clearly. Be open in your communication. Be very clear on the feedback, the instructions that you're giving. Maybe even tell them where you're at. Maybe express your own moods, your own feelings, so that you just build a better, stronger relationship with your athlete. Be consistent and reliable. If you want your athletes to be consistent and reliable, show that trait themselves. You are probably going to be a fundamental rock within their life. While many different parts of an athlete's life is constantly changing, and the environment and there's stress here and there, if they have this one constant that they can rely upon, and that's their coach, that's a huge win for them. That's a great place for them to be in. So be that person for them. And also, while being a coach, you are there to provide knowledge and expertise. Don't forget to promote independence and self-trust in your athletes. You want to promote autonomy. If you want good decision makers, they need to figure it out themselves. Some of the best coaches for me helped me find a way. They allowed me to go out, get burnt, fall over, and figure it out myself whilst guiding me. They weren't telling me what to do. They were trusting that I could find it, and then would give me that independence to learn along the way, rather than being able to just puppeteer them and see if they can go down that journey the way you want them to. But ultimately, they've never figured that out themselves. So when they get there, they don't actually know what to do and what decisions to make. So give them independence, allow them to trust themselves. And finally, last few things, stay open, stay curious, try to develop yourself, be the one that can promote curiosity in your environment, both for yourself and your athlete, to help them promote that part. If you want them to learn new things, take on new ideas, show that you're willing to do it as well. It's going to show a huge level of maturity and growth. Could be anything from the techniques to the mindsets that they have. And finally, maintain emotional control around them. I know sport can be hard. I know there can be ups and downs. You can get frustrated because you're not in control of what your athlete's doing and how they're going about what they're doing. And that can be an emotional roller coaster, especially if maybe your own job's on the line. That is tough. But if you can have good emotional control and model good behaviors, have a strong mindset around them, then they will mimic that too. And if you want to develop that, then be sure to head over to the MindStrong Sport app. It's the place where you can develop your mind, build it stronger in your mental gym, in your own space. All you have to do is download it via the iOS and Android stores completely for free. Take a look around and see if you want to sign up to a subscription today. Head to the link in the description of this video to get started right now. All right, there we go. There's 12 coaches to avoid. If you're one of them, I hope you can find your way back to some of these good behaviors. Let us know in the comments if you've had a coach that's like this, which one resonated most with you. Maybe there's another one you would add in, and also tell us some stories. Tell us some stories of your coaches, both the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if you're an athlete and a coach, there are some mistakes that you're making and you don't even realize. And to change that, you want to watch this video next.